Wilnette Carter is an experienced educator with 28 years of dedicated service in Virginia, specializing in 7th grade civics and economics. Wilnette has spent her career shaping young minds and fostering a deep understanding of social science. She holds an education degree from St. Paul's College, where her passion for teaching was ignited, and a master's degree in leadership and organization from Strayer University, further enhancing her ability to lead and inspire both students and colleagues. Throughout her long-standing career, Wilnette has remained committed to empowering students with the knowledge and skills they need to thrive in today's complex world.
McLaughlin, Dr. Rainey, they were phenomenal. And at the time when they kept saying Bloom's taxonomy, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to. And they just kept pushing on us: create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, remember. And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, Bloom's taxonomy is not just for education, it's for life. You got to realize how we have as spiritual. Do you know, as Black teachers, first of all, we make a difference. And I see the difference. I see, especially Black male teachers. I see the difference when they walk into a classroom. You notice our kids have a tendency to stand a little taller, look a little straighter.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how that happens. And we always want to say it's the quote unquote big mama effect. It's not.
It's not the big mama effect. It is not from the 1800s. It's none of that. It's just our makeup.
Right. And if you have classroom management on top of that, you can make miracles happen. And I have seen those miracles happen. Yes, education is hard right now. Politically, we have so many things going on that we're just wondering, like, what's wrong? What's this? But as Black,
especially with you being a civics teacher,
yes,
that's putting a lot of strain on how you formulate your words, how you are presenting yourself, because you don't want to present yourself in one-sided at all.
Right.
Because you're here to teach, not to do anything else other than to teach. And so it does put you in an awkward state.
Truthfully, my political views cannot be in that classroom.
At all.
So I have to show fair points. And I tell them constantly, civics is the history of our government. And this is what's happening. And you do get kids who are like, well, why is this happening? You know what? That's for the history books. We're living in historical times. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And you were saying spiritual. That's where my spiritualness kicks in. I know we don't supposed to have prayer in school, and I don't pray with the kids, but I'm constantly praying.
Girl, I know you. Hold a second. I think most people I know, because I know I did it. I know I did it. Sitting in that car. And then if you put a little gospel to it.
Yes. And I am lucky enough, and you said that, my upbringing, I am lucky enough. I have joined from my church. It's called the Gladiators. They're prayer warriors.
Oh.
And in the morning, they're 6:00 every morning. And you get, I call them my lessons. I tell them, I'm like, you guys are teaching me. You teaching the teacher. Because it's amazing how what you're saying relates to my life. What you're telling me relates to my life. How am I figuring it out? As my day goes on, I'm knowing what's happening. I have a wonderful pastor, Reverend Dennis King, who is a wonderful pastor, and he's moving forward in education and speaking on so many different things. And he's just retired from his job, and he is phenomenal. I still have my mom. My dad passed in 2019. But I live in a neighborhood, a community, and I will say this, that we are surrounded by people who are legends. That's what I call them. All those people legends, because they're constantly making you think. And as a teacher, if you ever stop learning, you're not an equipped teacher. That's what I think. So, yeah.
You know, that's one of the things I don't like is when the public states, oh, they were on vacation for 3 months, or they were on vacation. You don't have time for vacation. You have certifications that you have to acquire and to keep. And in order to do that, You have to go back to school. You have to go to
Right.
workshops. You have to go to conferences. You have to sometimes write an article and place it in a journal, depending upon what level you are. Um, Teaching is ever evolving and it's happening all the time. I
Right.
don't think everybody understands that. And I just want to go back on one thing because I love the spiritual part. And I think that we, with us both having been at St. Paul's College, okay, the HBCU, uh, people are probably like, well, where is it? Unfortunately, we had a few issues, but we're not going to look, think
Right.
about that. But they had a way to ingrain us and to help us understand who we were.
Right. Yes.
I mean, our parents gave it. No, no, no. My mama, my daddy, my family
Right.
gave me a heck of a lot. That's the only reason why I have that foundation, because we as family should be providing foundation to our children.
Right. Right.
We should be getting it from anybody else. However, putting someone in a place where they can get that foundation and strengthen it, that's what we got at SPC, at St. Paul's College.
Right. That's what we have. And don't say, okay, there's so many things that are happening right now. Don't you think that they're bringing us together?
Yeah,
Is reawakening us?
yeah. Well, St.
And-
Paul's College, even though it's not a brick and mortar,
Right.
we actually are still together providing our
Right.
foundation, providing a way to stay in touch. Because even with my sorority, you're AKA, I'm Delta, but we're D9. We
Yeah.
have a way, we have a way of really and truly bridging ourselves and staying in contact, making sure each other is okay. If something goes down, we're going to celebrate or we're going to be there to support. And I love that about who we are, even though after 30 plus years, we're still doing it.
Yes. 30 plus years. Yes. And I find it fascinating. You can tell, and it's not to be mean or cruel, but you can tell a St. Paul's teacher. You can tell a Virginia State teacher.
Yes, you
You
can.
a Virginia Union teacher. It's just, and I'm teaching with a lady who's older, who graduated from St. Paul's in the 70s. And she was telling, was like, I could tell you were St. Paul's when you walked in the door. And I was like, really? She was like, the way you were walking. And I was like, I'm short, I'm round, I'm fluffy. No. She said, you had a stride. And I was like, yeah, that's St. Paul's, but it's also the Carter, because I grew up, my parents, show pride. You show pride. You dress for the occasion.
Yeah.
And I think we as teachers are getting away from that. And I was listening to your podcast about money, finances.
Mm.
And I kept thinking, I was like, you're right. We have, as educators, we are always lucky. And I'm going to go back to what something Dr. McLaughlin said when I was sitting in his classroom years ago. He was like, as a teacher, you're going to always have a job. And I was like, okay. And he made this perfectly clear. He said, because guess what? When the world is falling apart, someone still needs to listen to somebody.
Yeah.
And you listen. And I was like, okay. And one, for teachers, create a budget. We have to create a budget. We have to. We just can't be willing to. We're no, we're not going to be filthy rich. I've come to realize that. But
Oh,
create.
well, that's interesting you said that. I'm not rich. I'm not at all. But there are ways, even though it goes against the grain sometimes, there are some tricks to the trade of
Right,
how you can invest, even if it's just a small amount. And
right,
that's kind of interesting you said that because I am about health and wellness. I am about the wellness part of finances. And I am going to be making a shift in my business just a touch. But I may keep that piece of finances because I want people to understand I went through a lot of stuff and went through some tough times. And some people that you and I know, they were like, how'd you do it? I say, well, it's just the way it is, not realizing that certain things I learned from my mom and my grandma about how to do certain things, even when you just don't have sometimes two nickels to rub together.
right, right. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, and Thomas in the corner going, "This is doubtful." You know what I'm saying? That's what you got.
Did you just, oh my gosh. Well, now, Thomas is in the corner. Oh, I'm done. She said Thomas is in the Lord have mercy. And he over there talking too, ain't he?
But we have to budget, create budgets. Don't be ashamed that you are saying budget, because some people make it feel like budget is a bad word. It's not. And once you have spent or done what you can, and I had to learn this the hard way,
Hmm.
just say no. I mean, just no, I can't do anymore. This is, you got to take care of where you're working, your financial abilities, everything. Then once that's taken care of, you are not the rich of the world, but you are capable rich. What that means is you still have your lights on, you still have your connections, you still have something, and invest in yourself. I see people sometimes, and as educators, especially Black educators, we will work ourselves to death. Stop. Invest in yourself. Find a peace of mind, because education is hard.
So when you get to that point and you're in that position, it wears on your mental and emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just want, and I think you can agree on this with teachers. There's a lot of emotional baggage sometimes that we have to carry,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we shouldn't be carrying it though.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
shouldn't be carrying it. You know, I just finished watching someone who I just follow on social media, and I've met her a couple times too, and she is astounding and focusing on educators understanding themselves and talking about finances. And I'm just doing a generalization, so I don't quote her in general, but she was like, sometimes as educators, if we're wearing a shirt that has the little puppy on it, or we have the Mrs. A frugal piece of clothing that has all these ruffles on it and has the numbers and say, "Oh, I'm a teacher," or the little
Right.
schoolhouses. I'm just putting it down, breaking it down for people out there.
Right.
And you really don't find many African Americans do this, but we do have ways in which we downsize ourselves. Um, that's bringing in what you're wearing, because you catch my drift
Yes.
financially.
Right.
When you look the part and you walk the part. And I'm not saying you have to break the bank though. We're
No,
not talking about breaking the bank.
you
We're
know,
not talking about, I think your mom and dad probably did the same thing, Wilnette. We had our set items of clothing. We had probably 10 sets. That's it.
and you had your school clothes, you had your church clothes, you had your work clothes, and you play clothes, and you were constant, and it
Literally.
prepared you because you knew where you were standing. And I think our kids and adults don't know where they're standing anymore, and they get confused and they feel lost.
Okay,
And
because that's interesting you said that. Because like when you walk in that door, my question to some of the educators, what are you doing? We're talking about walking in the door from home. You come and walking in the home, what you doing? You keeping the same clothes on? Have you washed your face from the day to refresh yourself and put on your casual clothes? And some of y'all going to work in casual clothes because you see your counterparts wearing casual clothes. Rise
invest.
above. And we're not telling you to go to the high-end stores. We're not saying high-end stores. Like I said, we had very little, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean it. A lot of us had just enough to get by. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about how we presented ourselves. Wash that baby up, iron that sucker up, make it look good, like it was yesterday from the store.
And I was so lucky because my dad was military retired. He was postal retired. He had his own business. And my mom and them went shopping. I will never forget when I was getting ready to student teach. And it was hilarious to me. I'm getting ready to student teach. And my mom goes, come on. And I could hear them talking the night before. And it was spring break again. And my mom was like, come on. And I'm like, where are we going? She took me to Belk. She took me to, and we can laugh at it now, potatoes,
Ooh, yeah.
these different stores, Kohl's, and we were at Tallheimers. And I'm like, Mama, I have clothes. And she was like, you dress like a student. Now it's time for you to dress like a teacher.
Who you telling?
And she was,
Hey,
and my mom and dad, and I heard them talking that night. And even if they might not have had a ton of money, but they put enough together to make sure that I had, and that I looked, when I walked into there, that I looked like a teacher. She was like, you're going into a new phase in your life. You need to look the part. And oh, girl, there are teachers, honestly, it's a running joke with me. I'm like, they got to fight with the iron and lost. Because, you know, they just drink. Mm.
You know, they got steamers now, y'all. Just
Yes. I should be able to tell the difference between, and I don't care how old you are, from you and a student. I should be able to tell the difference. I should not think that you all look the same. And you remember, and I can say this,
okay.
When we started student teaching, do you remember it was a competition with the heels and stuff to see who would look? And we don't have to do that now. But you remember Dr. Rainey's classes and stuff, it was a competition on which one was going to look the best, who was going to be dressed nice. And I'll never forget, they always said, if you look good, you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't about, because I need to work on the size. I need to work on the weight. Woo. But food just tastes so good. It just tastes.
If it tastes good, it ain't good. Tastes good, it ain't good. It still can't taste good, but I'm talking about the Southern soul food.
Yeah. Listen, when the pandemic hit, I moved back home with my mom. And girl, she has been cooked, bless her heart. She cooked them cakes and pies, and I ain't got no better sense but to eat them.
You know, I had Dr. Frostberg. Remember, he used to walk everywhere.
Yes. Yes. And we have him, but I look at it now, that man was keeping his energy up. That was a fountain of youth. He was working. He was walking them hills every day.
So I said, Dr. Frostberg, I really am struggling in this class because Barbara just gave me all the classes on my second day, and then she left. Like couldn't find out where she went. I was like, where Dr. Frostberg? Then I walked up, y'all. This shows HBCU, okay? So I said, Wilnette, you know me. I was I didn't really talk a lot, but I felt if something went down, I was going to find somebody. Right. I walked up to Dr. Sadler, God rest him, to his wife's, their home. Knocked on the door. The president's wife's door. I don't think I told anybody this. I knocked on the door and I'm just pumping them heels. I was like, I am so tired of being this woman's just doing everything to me in this class. I'm not getting help. But the kids were like, oh, we like what you're doing, Miss White. You're doing a great job. Thank you. This is tough stuff. And I'm like, thank goodness I know it a little bit because Dr. Forsberg was helping me. Right. I knocked on the door. I said, hi. Yes, we know you, Jewel. What's going on? I said, I'm really struggling. It's like my teacher done left. Like, where'd she go? Right. I'm in student teaching. I need help. She said, don't worry about it. I'm going to go ahead. Miss Satcher. Miss Satcher said, I'm going to go ahead and get to your school. And I'm going to go in the classroom and find out what's going on. She said, because I want you to be successful. And the president's wife, Miss Sadler, went to the school. Remember, she had 2 bums?
Yes, she did. Princess Leia.
Who you telling? She went to the school, to the high school, and sat in my class and gave me feedback. And then I told Dr. Forsberg the same thing because I wanted 2 people to go in and see what happened. Now, Barbara got a little concerned because first she was like, hold a second, the president's wife is up in there. Then Dr. Forsberg, I said, I know you don't have a car. And I said, I would like to give you a ride, but I still got to stay on campus. He said, that's not your problem. I walk and I will get there. Right. I'm going into your classroom because I'm your advisor. And Dr. Forsberg walked to the high school. Now, mind y'all, that was not a short walk.
No, to Brunswick High School.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that was not.
He went there, though.
And he was bright early and on time.
Yeah. And the principal came in and they were really surprised at what I had done because a lot of people didn't realize, but we were pretty young. Both of us really young when we graduated. And some of the kids that we were student teaching with were only maybe 2 years younger than us or 3 years younger than us, if that. And so when I walked in, here I am, they gave me 12th grade, which is like talking to my sister, trying to teach. And that was like, oh my gosh. And that was an HBCU. Mm-hmm. Who could actually walk to their president's house and knock on the door and say, Miss Satcher, I need help. And so that's the reason why I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And you don't get that, I don't think, anymore. If you do, I haven't heard it.
No, you don't get that.
Dr. Rainey would do anything for you.
Yes.
Anything.
And Dr. Lawson he was insultive to me. I was like, well, tell me how you really feel. But it was to prepare you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he'd say things, you'd be looking at him, and he was like, because you need to know. And let's face it, we need to be always better. We may not want to admit that, but we always got to give that extra. If we don't, we're accused of half stepping. We're accused of not doing our jobs. We have to be well prepared. And
Mm.
thank them for that.
And I'm gonna go back to what makes us well prepared is our faith.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
Our faith and how
Oh,
we impart and we talk about accountability partners and who can support you. Um, your prayer warriors. That's who
yeah.
our accountability partners are, our prayer warriors. The
Yeah.
ones who will,
So yes.
prostrate, literally just lay on that floor all the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Or speak in tongues to cover you.
Mm,
Just to let you know it's gonna be all right.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that's why when I look at what's going on in America right now, like you said something that I had just been saying. We're gonna sit this one out. We're gonna sit it out right now. And that's what we're doing. I had a situation, matter of fact, it was yesterday, and I had to stop and think about it. And I was like, okay. And this teacher is having problems in her class. And she wants, and I have classroom management. Now, that was something else we were
Oh, I was
taught.
gonna say, honey, no,
Right.
they all instilled in us a
Right.
process of how to gain classroom management from day one.
They may not learn nothing, but they're gonna know how to
They
behave.
didn't have, and the weird thing about it is it wasn't even part of the curriculum. It's just who they wanted us to be, and they instilled us and told us.
Right. And she comes to me to handle her class. And I was like, no, can't do it. I'm so sorry. And I know that sounds mean or harsh, but I was like, no. Because guess what? They're, they're my children, but they're not my children.
Yeah.
And how that is, you have to handle them. If I miss a day or whatever, and that's taken from you. You don't want that. You don't want the disrespect. And like you said a few minutes ago, kids will test you.
They will.
They will test you. They will, see how far they can go with you. And if they can, and that tells me that they have it in them. Because if I can get them to sit down and I've just walked in off the street or from another classroom, that means you can do it too.
I'm glad you mentioned that. As a principal, I really tried not to go in the classroom and help with the discipline. I really did, because once you go in, it lessens their authority
Right.
in that classroom when I leave. But if it got out of control, sometimes I had to. But
Yeah. It's out of
chip
control.
away at it. And I want people to understand it's not that we don't want to help, but if we do help, it has to be outside of the classroom, give you the pointers, tell you how to do it. And then it's up to that teacher to implement and see how that goes. But you also
Right.
have to have a support system that believes in what you can do too. And
Right.
sometimes I am finding, only because of me talking to some teachers, that some of the administrators do not and have not been in a classroom. So it's hard for them to truly help them rectify their situations. Um, and it's not much one can do about that. But and I did ask that question at one point: should every administrator have had classroom experience? Because we're finding more and more do not, and
Right.
so that is almost a trickle effect within the actual school. Well, now it's been fun. I've been loving it.
Well, thank you. It has been, yeah.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
nervous. What does she want me to do? How are we gonna do this? Okay. But yes.
I told you it's just a basic conversation of having fun.
Uh-huh.
Um, what would you love to give to the audience as one key thing, like your word of wisdom about wellness and how you're keeping yourself where you are? And we're going to talk about just like the mental wellness, your emotional wellness, because you have worked on that. It has been embedded and you impart it to others.
Invest in yourself. Know that you were not created to just work. You were not created to just be. And even if you think you are created to just be, your station in life is to find your joy. And sometimes your joy is going to come, it has to come from within. It has to. If you can't find peace and understanding within, you're going to have so many confusions, so much going on. So invest in yourself, invest in yourself spiritually, it sometimes financially, if within reason, financially in reason, but invest in a life that when you are older or when you finally sit down and take that rest, you can say, "Thank you, Lord, for the life you've given me." That's my belief. I just
Wow.
and tell those around you because they're not promised. Tell them you love them. Tell them every day.
Oh, I love it. That wisdom is amazing. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me on Cold Press Conversations. This is Wilnette Carter, a great friend of mine, and
Yeah.
I'm just elated that we had an opportunity to talk to you about some of our joys, some of our wisdom, and some of the things that we believe just need to be given to you. Y'all take care.